I'm Adam, so let's get this started. Today we're going to talk a little bit about whipping. So I wanted to show you guys what an actual whipping setup looks like. So let's start with the rods, okay? There's a variety of different rods you can get. Super stout, and whipping is a concept not a lot of people know. It's really localized to the area of the thumb of Michigan, all the way down to the Detroit River pretty much. So all along there is how guys whip. So here you have a rod. This is a 50 inch. Also there's a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. Custom whipping rods. So first thing, you're going to have a setup with a three-way swivel, which looks like this. Hopefully you can see that. That's a three-way swivel, and what you're want to do is you're going to get a reel. You're going to want a reel with a line counter, or most people want a reel with a line counter. Personal preference, but that's what most people go with. So if you look at my setup here on this rod, you have the three-way swivel, okay? And what you're going to do with that three-way swivel is you're going to run a leader about 18 inches down, between 18 inches, depending on the time of year. Sometimes we'll go, you know, a lot longer, a couple feet maybe. Just depends, personal preference. I never change mine, so I keep it 18 inches all year. Or whatever this is, you know, just a good estimate. Anyway, so you're going to attach this here to the three-way swivel with your snap swivel, and then you're going to run a weight, and this bell sinker is going to be based on the water conditions. So if the current's running fast, you have a north wind, you're going to need a heavier bell sinker. Compared to if you have a south wind, it's going to go slower, so you need something lighter to catch in the current to move back. So the whole concept of whipping is what happens is you're covering a lot of area in a short amount of time. So what happens is you're going to run a bunch of different leaders. And so what I do is I tie my leaders all up. The way I tie my leaders up, I run 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. Sometimes I run 12 feet back in the last leader. I'm going to explain that here in a second. I found that these little yellow line holders, they're actually made for crawler harnesses, but they work great for holding leaders for my whipping leaders. So that's what I use. And as you can see, I use just a snap. There's no barrel swivel. The reason why that is because I don't want my baits to be spinning when I'm whipping. So that's why we use just a snap, no barrel swivel. So I have my leaders all set up. So we're gonna get out there, we're gonna set up, we're gonna anchor the boat or use spot lock on our trolling motor, depending on what our situation is, what we own, what we have, what we don't have. Then we're going to get set up. We're going to take our rod. This rod I already have set up here. You can see I got an Okuma line counter on there. It's nice to be able to go back, and then I'm running a 30-pound braid. Power Pro is the brand. Okay, and here we're going to have my leader. My leader line is what we call, it's a Mason hard type nylon line, 20-pound test. It's like a mono, but a little bit thicker. I run 20 pounds, some guys run 15 pounds, some guys run 12 pounds. It's all a personal preference, a lot of this is. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I have what's called a pencil plug. If you're not familiar with pencil plugs, this is what a pencil plug looks like. You can see these two boxes that I have sitting on the ground. Those are both full of pencil plugs and Rapalas, F7s, F11s, F13s, F9s, F5s, and F3s. So here's my pencil plug, and you can see this one's beat up a little bit from being used a lot. But a pencil plug has this setup here. And what we have going on here is you got 3 treble hooks. So this is tied to my first leader. My first leader, again, is 6 feet. Then I run another leader. This one's going to be 8 feet back. So now I have a Rapala here, okay? And on my Rapala, then I'm going to run another leader 10 or 12 feet back. When I'm at 12 feet back or 10 feet back, what happens is with this concept is now you have baits at different levels of the water column. Whipping's done primarily at night. Some guys do it during the day and have some luck, but mainly this is a night fishing technique. Guys will go out, you know, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, midnight, whatever. They'll go out and then fish for a couple hours. This is a very, very effective way to catch fish, especially or to target walleye. So what happens is we put another leader on the back of this just the same way. So now this concept is allowing you to have your baits at 3 different levels in the water column. So as I'm letting these out, I'll throw my small one first, then I'll have this one, and then I'll have my pencil plug in the front, okay? And that's all connected to my 3-way swivel. So now what's happening is I'm going to drop this bell sinker down. Now naturally we're in the St. Clair River, so the current's very fast. So naturally this is going to take off with the current. Eventually it's going to hit. Once it hits the bottom like that, I'm going to bounce it 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever I feel like that day. And what I'm doing when I'm bouncing it is as I bounce it off the bottom, I'm bouncing it in such a way that my rod is going in a whipping motion. And so what that does is that causes the baits to all just have different action based on what bait you put on. And then after I've done my 2 or 3 bounces, I let more line out. So my thumb is constantly on the line counter so that the line's not getting all bird nested up and all that kind of craziness, and just my line is just not free flowing on the river. Okay, and then what happens is we go and we have we keep going back until you feel a fish hit, basically. So your line counter will allow you to see so that you can target that number. So whatever that number may be, 75, 80, 200, 250, whatever you feel like that's going to be at, or where you catch a fish, you look down, see your number, bam, now you start reeling. Now you know the next time, okay, I'm just going to try to get it back there to that number real fast. And usually it's boom, 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 one after another. So basically what you're doing, what you need for this kind of fishing is a whipping rod. And you, like I said, you want it to be stout. You do not want it to flex a lot. You can see this doesn't have a lot of flex. And the reason for that is because you're pulling against the current when you're whipping. So you want to make sure that this is not like super flimsy. This one's like real heavy duty actually, but my other ones are not. They don't have, you can see they don't have a ton of flex. Okay, and the reason is because you're pulling so hard against that stuff. Okay, and so that's the first thing. You need a rod. Then you need a reel. I have a Shimano Dakota 400 line counter. on my favorite setup. That reel seems to do really well. I have a lot of guys that use Okuma convectors or cold waters, the low profile. Those also work out really well. And then you would need some baits. So Rapalas, your pencil plugs, and you can see here in my box, they make these special mate boxes, is what they're called. And you can see in my box there, that one's a little light because that's my newest one. This one's completely full. And so you can see in there, those are all pencil plugs and Rapalas. So again, if you're seeing this and you're in Michigan, you stop by a Jay's Marine, we would be able to get you set up with everything that you need. And then you would just want to tie up your leaders, have some snaps without barrel swivels so that your line's not spinning, your bait's not spinning, causing a huge fiasco mess back there while it's in the water. And usually guys limit out.
You got it? Don't lose it.